Hello, this is Touch Love Worldwide Broadcasting Service transmitting from London, and today we are having a theatre of conversation at the Brompton Cemetery, and it's so significant that we are using this venue. We just set up and we are waiting for the arrival of the people that are going to be coming, and at 1 o'clock we'll have the child that will speak, and we'll probably have more than one child speaking today. I'd like to tell you what today is really all about. We are looking for the leaves, the people that are going to make a difference, are going to be founding members of this movement. And in particular today we are looking for officers. The movement is unique in the way that it approaches theatre of conversation. We don't call it convention, we call it theatre of conversation. And it has a particular officer which others might not have because of the importance it places in what unites us. This officer is the pregnancy and placenta officers. And I'd like to read out the criteria, what it requires. He says this. This is from the Constitution, is paragraph 173 of the Constitution. The pregnancy and placenta officers' primary duty is to create awareness amongst the populace about the connecting force of the afterbirth. Short, PAPO is the short for pregnancy and placenta officer. The PAPO represents every pregnancy and every afterbirth, giving a voice to every pregnancy and every afterbirth. The officer is an advocate, bringing together everybody who was once a pregnancy, who was connected to a placenta, and whose birth was followed by an afterbirth. It is a PAPO's responsibility to liaise with schools and other establishments in organizing events for children of school age and creating thought-provoking events in antenatal clinics. So this role is really very important. You need someone who is heavily invested in love because it will demand a lot of time in organizing events and trying to explain the philosophy of touch love. Everybody was once a pregnancy. Every one of us had a womb that we are living in, connected to a mother through a placenta, and the idea of the movement is to point out these important things that we have in common. And everybody that came into the world came in with their own land, and that land I call the afterbirth. And it's important to pause and think about that. Everybody has a land they brought into the world. So everybody has a place in the world. It is the PAPO's responsibility to explain to the populace the reason behind involving children and actual pregnant women in politics. Though children are not voters, they are affected by the choice voters make, so their voices must be included, amplified, and heard within the electoral process. Children are a valued constituency, and a PAPO ensures that they are involved in running the government by helping them to understand the process, by interesting them with exciting stories to capture their attention and secure their participation, by inspiring them to engage and voice their originality and their thoughts on key issues, and by ensuring that they know that they are valued and that their thoughts and ideas are very important and can create a better world. The intelligence of children are often underrepresented, and it is the duty of the PAPO to ensure that such intelligence is not overlooked. Today, for instance, we are having children speak to us about the way forward. The child has already asked whether we are a party for children and has suggested that there ought to be a president for children, voted by for children. The PAPO will use age-appropriate materials to connect children to and involve children in the political process. This is a very important responsibility, so the role requires up to 10 or more officers to share the duty. The PABOs will use their special skill, talent, and uniqueness to devise the most engaging way to reach every child and mother who participates in the pregnancy and afterbirth events. This is one of those events. It's an event where we talk about what we have in common, the importance of what we have in common, the importance of melting boundaries. A lot of people, when they hear cemetery, is a no-go area. And this movement is having this theater of conversation in a cemetery to melt those boundaries, to confront those sorts of boundaries that our minds create, the fears that we have. The party stance is a political process is not just about campaigning to be in power, but is as fundamental as food, and whoever ingests food must have a voice in the process of food making and know what is poison and what is enriching so as to remove poison whenever encountered. Children eat what politicians cook and feed. This is why age-appropriate political education must start from the ante-natal clinics, continue through school to adult groups. Political participation is so important and must not just be the main meal or pudding served only to children whose parents discuss politics at the dinner table, but must be a staple food of every child as they grow up. Political participation must be viewed as a necessary part of growing up and not made a preserve of a few children nor confined to only election campaign for power. Political participation must span all ages and all seasons because it is a life campaign for life. The PABOs also ensure that voices of pregnancy, afterbirth, and children are reflected in the party's policies. So we are in autumn, so we use the autumn leaves which show our uniqueness. Each of them are different. I've already done a video where I went around showing the different leaves. That is the banana leaf there, the other leaves there. Every leaf is important. Every leaf plays its role while it's on top of the tree and comes down to become part of the carpet that eventually becomes a manure. So there is no stage of life that we should be afraid of. Trees are not afraid of their falling leaves. We shouldn't be afraid of coming into the cemetery. In fact, that should be the starting point, because when we come into the cemetery, we begin to reflect about the meaning of life. And for a party that is engaging life, that wants to put love at the center of politics and governance, the cemetery is a place to start, because there it's not about glitz, it's about life, it's about what's important. So I'm doing this video just before people start arriving. This is Thought Love Worldwide Broadcasting Service transmitting from London, from Brompton Cemetery, and we're so grateful that we are allowed to use this room. Behind me, as you can see, is Emily Harper's. Her importance is well known, and part of what we're going to be talking about is about her. She's not very far from here. Her gravestone is just round the corner, and again, it's significant that in the room that we're having our first major theater of conversation is a lady who was an activist and who got votes for women. Our party cuts across boundaries, we melt all boundaries. It's a party for love. Love is what unites all of us. And we want the political process not just to be for people who have parents or relatives that talk about politics. It's always a disadvantage to people who don't have the round the table talk when they were 5 years old and they're 6 years old, and they get to to adults, and that's the first time they are engaging in political discussion. So we want to change that, and the role of the pregnancy and placenta officer is a very important one. If you're able to sign up, please sign up. This is Touch of Worldwide Broadcasting Service, transmitting from London. Love to you always. Love to all always.